Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the 12th Man podcast. We are back again after another fantastic weekend of Premier League football. We also had transfer deadline day yesterday and we'll discuss that as well. And we'll finish off by looking ahead to the League Cup semi-finals where, of course, Newcastle host Arsenal. We had 2-goal lead and in a real position of strength. Can they see it through? And, of course, the more intriguing of the semi-finals is Liverpool taking on Spurs at Anfield. Of course, Spurs that won the first game by 1-0, but many may still think Liverpool are the favourites being at home at Anfield, and they've come back from worse deficits, as most people would know, and cup competition. So it's by no means in Spurs' control, you would feel at the moment. But we'll come on to that later on. We're going to look at the Premier League games, and of course, there were some big results for Liverpool. Arsenal, Forest putting 7 past Brighton after conceding 5 at Bournemouth. United continued to struggle at Old Trafford. Spurs finally won a Premier League game. They won ugly at Brentford. Chelsea turned defeat and the victory at West Ham. Wolves won the Midlands derby over Villa. Fulham came from behind. They won at St James's Park. Everton put Leicester to the sword. Southampton got their first away one as well at Ipswich. So all that to discuss. And we've got our main man Owen here to discuss it all. And we're slightly later tonight, but we will be here for at least an hour. So if you are joining in, make sure to stick a comment on them. We can answer a question, or even if you just have an opinion, we'll put it up on the screen. So Owen, good to have you with us. It's the start of a big week in the cup competitions. A break from the league for Liverpool, who are absolutely flying at the moment as well. So how have you been?
Aye, good. As I say, I'm looking forward to the game on Thursday night. Obviously, you'll be at it. So it should be a good game, and I know we're hoping for 2 different results. You're hoping that Spurs can see it out. I'm hoping you just do what Spurs do and mess up somehow. But no, I've been good and just enjoying the football.
Aye. We're going to talk about transfer news, but I just seen there in the last hour, Spurs have signed Miss Amelia from St Pat's. Miss Amelia is going to become the first ever League of Ireland millionaire player. Spurs set to sign him for around $1.5 million, and he'll sign next January after his 18th birthday. So
is that the wee boy that was 16? He's obviously now 17.
17. So that's just come up there in the last hour that Spurs have signed him. They also signed a couple of our young players from Man City and Liverpool. Not that I know anything about them, but obviously I know Miss Amelia from watching League of Ireland football.
What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, it's a different level, but the kid's got ability, no doubt about it. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. Of course, he'll play for St Pat's until next January. Possibly could even be loaned back as well. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. Well, suppose their season would end in November, wouldn't it? So I know he'll probably make his way over to England next January, and then maybe go out and loan the Championship team, maybe, or a League One team, depending on where he's at, and then
big step for him anyway.
Well, I knew from last year that Miss Amelia was somebody the club were tracking, and it looks now that Spurs have announced that the deal's done, and he'll sign next January. So a big transfer from the League of Ireland to the Premier League, and of course, Miss Amelia now has that tag of being the first League of Ireland transfer of over £1 million. So interesting.
Now that he's playing for Spurs, for St Pat's, he'll pick up about 17 injuries this season.
Kieran's with us tonight. He's saying looking forward to Thursday night, and of course, as of today, I have got a ticket for Anfield. I am going to be in the away end on Thursday night, so I'm looking forward to this trip. And hopefully, I'll be singing Spurs is going to Wembley at around 10 o'clock on Thursday night. But look, I still think and we'll discuss all of that before we go off air. But let's look back at the Premier League weekend. We said going into the weekend it was going to be a very, very significant weekend. And although Liverpool and Arsenal both won, I still thought it was significant in the way that they won. Bournemouth was going to be a tough game for Liverpool to come through that. And of course, Arsenal had all that pressure on them then against Man City, and they destroyed Man City in that second half. So let's start with Liverpool. They are league leaders, and it was an impressive performance at Bournemouth. Definitely at times they did ride that wee bit of luck that you need. And in recent weeks, I think Bournemouth have been very, very ruthless in front of the goal. And it was almost like the old Bournemouth came back at the weekend where they were a wee bit more profligate. And that's something we can associate with Bournemouth. And I did say to Egan under the weekend that I'm not sure if Bournemouth's consistency in front of goal will continue. We know they're a good team between the boxes. But we were a wee bit unsure whether they could be, that ruthless every week. And when they had their opportunities, they didn't take them. And it was a completely different story at the Orient with Liverpool.
We needed Allison too to make a few saves. Semenyo hit the bar in the first half, but I think largely in the first half we controlled the game. In real time, I didn't think it was a penalty for. On real time, I didn't think.
He wasn't going down. I'm not there.
What was I going to say? On real time, I didn't think it was a penalty for Gakpo, but when I watched it back, I was like, it was a penalty. He did clip him, like, so it's one of them. Once he goes down, he's going to get a penalty. But Bournemouth had the one big chance Bournemouth had was, the Tavernier one that hit the post, and then Kluivert. And I actually seen on Facebook that something very similar happened to Bournemouth last season against Man City. I think it was Adam Smith missed it, but Tavernier hit the shot. So
Man City don't even win the league that year.
So hopefully history repeats itself. But I think
I'll let you continue. I don't want to make this look like I'm saying that these are lucky, but have you ever heard of the phrase "champions luck"? I mean, Bournemouth over the last few weeks have been hitting goals from outside the box, and they couldn't. Kluivert was scoring goals from everywhere. He has that chance. He's banging form, and he misses it. And I think sometimes that's just the wee things that can go for you when you're going for a league. You need them wee things to go your way, because if it goes to 1-1, Salah goes up the Orient and scores an absolute peach of a finish. If it goes to 1-1, it's a different game.
I said I think we both predicted a draw in this game, so I'm happy. I'm happy, obviously, that we won, but we are, like, I wouldn't say we're riding our luck, because it's not fair, because we are where we deserve to be. We're the best team, in my opinion, in Europe at the minute. So, but you do need that bit of luck sometimes when you're going for a title. So hopefully it continues going into the next few games, because obviously we have that game next week against Everton, which is going to be tough.
I think that period of the game too was Bournemouth's best in the game. They were really putting Liverpool under pressure, and then they missed that opportunity, and Salah scores that fantastic finish, and it kills the game. That Bournemouth were beaten. They had a wee bit of a go towards the end, but it was more huff and puff. That kind of 20-minute spell after half time, Bournemouth were really looking dangerous, and I thought that Salah goal was perfect to get it at the right time. And that's what champions do. It wasn't Liverpool's. Salah wasn't really best, but it was enough.
No, and that's what I was saying. Salah wasn't really in the game. Like, he wasn't shooting. He didn't have about 10 shots a game. Like, he had 2 opportunities and took them both. And when you have that quality in your team, you always know if you need a goal, he's going to come up with it, or someone will come up with it. So at the minute, everything's going well. But I'm not going. Obviously, we have Spurs on Thursday and then Plymouth. But I think the Plymouth game should take care of itself. But for me, the next big one, other than the Spurs one, obviously, on Thursday, we have to go to Everton and at least get a draw.
Yeah,
because they're in good form. They're in good form at the minute under David Moyes, so they've had a bit of a stride.
I was really looking forward to this game. I actually went to watch it. I had access to it, living down here in the south, so it was quite good.
I had access to it. I didn't watch it on a dodgy stream. Swear.
But no, it was a really good watch, and I think Bournemouth are a really, really good team. Really, really good team. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer there, because even if they make Europe,
sort of a
managers will be sought after.
That's what I was going to say. I would say it's a shame, because I think if they don't make Europe, as you say, Areola will go. If Ange goes, he's Spurs' next manager. Nailed on. That's what I think.
If Bournemouth do make Europe, he's going to be sought after.
And I think Kirkes is going to go. I have a feeling, I don't know where he's going to go, but it's between 2 teams for me. It's between Man United and Liverpool, and I think.
Well, United did sign a left back there, so maybe Liverpool might could be left on the clear from.
And we seen the reports. Usual came out yesterday. Oh, Liverpool's going to have a big summer. Liverpool's going to attack the market. Usual. And then
I don't think they can keep getting away with it.
We definitely.
We'll discuss transfer window in a bit. Owen, let's move on to the Super Sunday, the second part of Super Sunday, where Arsenal played Man City. I mean, again, I says they fancied Arsenal just. They won 2-1. I think you says a draw. Were you surprised at how one? No, I think you says a draw.
Did I? I can't remember now.
Because I remember you saying that if results go the way I expect them to, a draw for Liverpool wouldn't be too bad.
That's right. I did.
Anyway, it was the same thing anyway because they both won, so Liverpool can maintain their gap. But were you surprised at how one-sided the last sort of 35 minutes were? Because I mean, up until when Man City scored, you felt they run the sentence at that time, and you always felt at 1-0 City had a goal on them, and Raya made a big save in the first half. I know Man City were making a lot of mistakes, and Arsenal really should have punished more of them. But when it went to 1-1, you kind of felt, do you know what? It's going to be a real test of Arsenal's character, especially after what happened in the Villa game at home, where they were 2-0 up and Villa come back. So that goal, I know they scored right after it. We had a flexion that changes it, but we've seen that real fragility around Man City again, where once they concede a goal like that in a game, they tend to concede a fair few, like Feyenoord, like the Spurs game. I'm trying to PSG, where they concede one goal and all of a sudden the flood. I mean, that's becoming a pattern for Man City now. Whenever they seem to concede a big goal in a game, they tend to really fold. And let's be honest, only for that bad Kai Havertz miss, they should have been 2-0 down with two nearly identical goals. And who knows what the score would have been then. So, they got the wee bit of luck there in the first half. They weren't as lucky in the second half. You could say the deflection, but maybe that was evened out with the Havertz miss they got lucky with. But, I mean, that's a real problem for Man City. They do seem to, from a team that had such a strong mentality, they seem to have gone really soft.
It's a mixture of things. Like that midfield that they played too on Sunday. Well, it was Bernardo Silva and Kovacic, I think. There's no defensive mindedness in there. I know Kovacic can't play there, but I know they've signed your man Nico Gonzalez, whatever he's called. But there was no defensive mindedness, and Arsenal were just cutting through them at will. And as you said, Havertz should have made it 2-0, and that for me would have been game over. And obviously, it turned anyway because when Man City scored, they went up and scored again with Thomas Partey with a deflection. But as you say, like there's been numerous times you mentioned Feyenoord, PSG, Brighton. They conceded 3. United, they conceded 2 in the last 5 minutes. So I don't know if it's just a mentality thing, but as we've said this a few times, these players have won so much. They've won everything there is they want at Man City. Do they really have the fight and the energy to go on and do it again? And I know Rodri's a big miss, but it goes deeper than Rodri. Even they're making basic mistakes. Even the one where was it Phil Foden passed at the party when he scored? Like he could literally see him. Foden's been poor all season.
Well, he's had a wee bit of a revival recently, hasn't he? But he was very poor on Sunday there.
And Gary Neville was buzzing his tights off the Arsenal one because we all know where his allegiances lies in this title race. But no, fair play to Arsenal because in the first half it was probably one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen in my life.
I actually think he's supporting Arsenal reluctantly. I don't think he likes Arsenal particularly because I remember when they used to play Spurs, he used to go crazy when Spurs scored against them. I don't think he likes Arsenal that much, but I think he would just rather than want it over Liverpool.
Most rival fans would. I think the only fans that want to see Liverpool win it are probably Man City fans and Spurs fans.
But a massive one for Arsenal. Where do you think that leaves Arsenal now? Was that people are saying it was a message they were sending out? But I think it was Martin Keown says in Talk Sport on Monday that was a message, a statement one. And Simon Jordan quickly shot him down and says, "You're not the only team they hammer Man City this year. This isn't the same Man City team." But of course, from the Arsenal perspective, they have says it's a massive one. But do you think maybe they're overplaying that victory based on what we've seen from Man City this season? I mean, Spurs have beat them 4-0. They blew a 3-goal lead against Feyenoord. They conceded 4 goals in a row against PSG after being 2-0 up. If you say 1-0 up in the Manchester Derby and concede 2 late goals, I mean, Liverpool took them apart at Anfield and really should have bit them by more. I mean, as beating Man City 5-1, that impressive anymore from what we've seen this season?
I mean, when you beat any team 5-1, you're going to enjoy it. Like, let's be honest. But I think, as you say, we've mentioned the teams there. I think it's just not the same Man City. And I heard some of their fans singing, "Are you watching Liverpool? Or are you watching Merseyside or something?" And I'm going. I was sitting and I was going, you do realise we're 6 points ahead with a game in hand.
Arsenal that's what annoys me. They were actually singing "Are you Tottenham" in disguise, but I can't mind the last time they beat us 5-1. So I don't know what that's about.
No, and I just think, and this whole stay humble thing that they're saying, I was like, you haven't won anything, and God knows how long.
What did you make
I
of
don't
all
know.
that celebration crack? I mean, Gabriel was fair enough. Maybe Gabriel was getting his own back in Holland, but I mean, the Skelly
Well,
one was a real strange one because I mean he's only just got on. Really, he's only starting his career out. Scored a great goal. Maybe the keeper could do better, but I mean, they do that celebration for they mock Holland. And I remember last year Saka was doing it to Madison. This
yeah.
seems to be something that Arsenal have been doing quite recently, and as you say, haven't quite backed it up yet.
No, I don't really understand Lewis Skelly doing it because he's only 18 and he's doing it to Haaland, who's won 4 Premier League titles. So it doesn't really add up. And you've seen Haaland after the match doing that there, pointing to the badge to the Arsenal fans, letting them know he's haven't won anything yet. But I just think as much as it was an impressive one, Arsenal have to remember, like, if they is anyone going to remember this 1-5-1 if Liverpool go and win the rest of their games? No, because
I
we're going
remember
to.
last year, the same weekend last year, Odegaard and the cameraman when they beat
Yeah.
Liverpool, and then they won the league. So
So just stay quiet until he's actually doing one. Like, and but in my humble opinion, you like that one, they're not going to do it this year. I just think as much as they're, I just think we're a
Paul
better.
Merson says if Liverpool beat Everton, that's it. That's game over.
I've said that for because I was
Oh,
look I
you
was
actually agree
looking.
with Paul Merson for once? He says he's a clown.
No, yeah, he has normally because he said yesterday. He said something. What did he say yesterday? He said that Cole Palmer, or he was saying something about Cole Palmer is like the best English player he's ever seen in the press. I was like, gone just, oh, he does my head on. But no, I've been saying that all along. Once if we beat Everton, I would say it's curtains because I was looking. Maybe I'm wrong. You could correct me, but I think Liverpool only need to win 10 games, and that's with Arsenal winning every game.
10
I
more
think
ones.
I think we need to win 10 with
Well, I
Arsenal.
think once after they played Everton, every team will have 14 games left. And if they're 9 points in front,
Yeah,
and they do have a better goal difference at the moment, but obviously it's not that much better that it can't be. I think there's about 12 goals in it, which could turn. But
no,
at the
no,
moment, they're 9 points plus they've effectively got an hour point in goal difference as it stands.
yeah.
So it's a big gap. Can you see Liverpool
Mm,
losing 3 games at the moment? Definitely not.
no.
But
Can you see?
we've seen things can change, and we know football can change. We've seen teams be cruising and things can go wrong. But I think as long as Salah keeps doing what he's doing, Van Dijk stays fit, and they keep the bulk of that squad fit, I think it's going to be difficult for Arsenal because they're going to have to keep trying to win. They stay in it, and look, I think if Liverpool were to beat or go out on in the cup on Wednesday, I think they would play that Villa game as well earlier than Arsenal. So if they could get another
Yeah.
3 points on the board, then it would flip the 12 points and Arsenal needing to win these days. So I think there's so many variables now that could happen.
I just
Um,
think I'm not saying we're going to win every game, but I just don't think Arsenal will
sorry,
either.
my bad. Sorry, my bad. If Liverpool beat Spurs, they'll play Villa earlier.
Uh,
That's what it is.
I think I just think we won't win every game. Obviously, I can't see that happening, but I can't see Arsenal win every game either. So that's what I'm hanging because you seen even they scored 5 at the weekend, but they could have had a handful.
The only thing that would slightly worry me is Liverpool were in this kind of position last year, and I know there's a wee bit of a different style, but I think when you're playing every game in every competition, there's always a chance it can really blow up. I mean, we've seen teams before. If Liverpool now gets through to the final, that's an hour rescheduled game that has to be played midweek. If they won it, happy days. But they will have to play Man City and Villa in the same week. They're both losable. I know Man City's going through a tough time, but Man City on their day, as we've seen against Chelsea, and Liverpool are a better team. They can come out and turn up.
But then,
So all of a
but
sudden
then
you
Man
could lose in
City,
a row.
but then Man City have to play Real Madrid that week as well.
Of course, and you would
So,
imagine that that's going to be a bigger game for Man City. The Madrid game,
no,
the Liverpool game will be, but there is wee things in there. I think Liverpool's next sort of 3 or 4 games away from home are going to be crucial. I think
I
they're
know.
all
I
they got
think
through the Bournemouth one, but I think it's Villa, Bournemouth, Villa, Man City, and Fulham. I think that
I
might be
think
their next
so.
3 away games. Sorry, and Everton as
It
well, the
is.
next 4 away games.
Yeah, yeah. So it is going to be tough, but I'm confident from where I sit at the minute. So I'll be. I'm saying that if you give me a percentage, I'm saying I'll say I'm 90% sure Liverpool's going to be left in the league in May.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Liverpool keep rhyming these, I mean, if Liverpool get the 10 games to go and they're nine points clear still, like, I mean, Arsenal run out of games then. Do you know what I mean?
And don't forget, we still have to play them at home as well.
Yeah, but I think I think it's a third last game. But I mean, unless the gaps cut, it's not going to mean much.
I would love to. I would love to. I would love to beat them just to cement that we won the league because I would just be perfect.
You know what? That's just there's a possibility that could happen. You know, where user maybe could be 7 or 8 points clear, 9 points clear, and play them last. And you just need a draw or one, and that's it.
So hopefully I'm on here in May with tears in my eyes.
It'll be interesting if Arsenal are still 7, 8, 9 points behind Liverpool come March.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how serious they take the Champions League. No, obviously they will take it serious, but do they start looking at that as a more likely route of a trophy than chasing down Liverpool with 8 or 9 games to go and having a 9-point swing day? You know, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I've said this, like, if Arsenal don't win anything this season and say slot wins the Premier League, do you think Arsenal fans will turn even more on Arteta?
You know what? Well, you could have that. You could have an argument. Do you know what my friend's even worse? See if Spurs won a trophy and Arsenal don't. It's going to be those Spurs fans have been very unhappy because of Arsenal been challenging for leagues the last few years. And if you think back to the end of the Wenger days, although they were unhappy with Wenger, a lot of things that Arsenal were hurting seeing Spurs up there pushing for trophies. Of course, Spurs didn't win. Arsenal won a couple of FA Cups in the end. And Spurs fans were gutted. It could swing the other way this time where Spurs are a bit of a mess and can end up picking something up. And, you know, if they then become a team, all right, they have only won one in, say, 16 or 7, but it will now then flip. Spurs have won something. Arsenal haven't won anything for 6 years. They're the team that's on the drought. And look, it's football can swing at times, and you just look. You mean United fans were taunting Arsenal fans last year, and they were taunting the year before because they won 2 trophies. And yes, Arsenal effectively were better, and probably had more enjoyable seasons. But it was Man United at the end that were holding up trophies, and that really rattled Arsenal fans.
Here, I said that the Arsenal fans last season as well. Like we won something last year and they didn't. So I'm hoping it's the same this year, but we'll see what happens. It's coming into this period now because the international break's coming up as well in the next 4 or 5 weeks, isn't it?
The weekend of Paddy's weekend is the last, so the 16th. I think the League Cup final is that weekend, is the Sunday the 16th, and then there's a break in from Paddy's Day for 11, 12 days. So
what are you expecting the League Cup final to be then? If you're say you're not a Spurs fan,
we'll come on to that. Let's finish off this review first. Forest put 7 past Brighton to start the weekend off. I think we did say we fancied Forest to win, but not to be this convincing. Look, I think it's one of those ones, and you know, we always say when a team wins 7-0, of course they play well, but I think the opposition contributes to the 7-0 loss. Yeah. And Brighton were very, very poor. They had a couple of decent chances, they scored, but at the back they were a mess. Yeah. And I'm not sure about this from a manager if it's working at all. Brighton just don't seem the same. Yeah, they do play well at times going forward, but it just seems that they're really struggling to stop goals going
on. He started well. I think he started really well, and then wasn't it just before Christmas they went like 12 games without a win. I think it was 12 games anyway. They went on a big run without a win, and I watched this game. I don't know if you've seen it, but some of the mistakes Brighton were making, you wouldn't be happy with the wee lads and the wee girls that you coach. So it's shocking, but it's a weird one because Brighton had their chances as well, so it could have been a different game. But as we said about Liverpool and Bournemouth, Forest were just clinical, and when you have someone like Chris Wood is in the form of his career, he's going to take his chances. And then I think it was it the 7th goal in, the keeper just basically passed it. They think it was Jota Silva that scored. So just a very, very bad day for Brighton. But Forest fans, from being down and out last week, losing 5-0 to Bournemouth and then going 1-7-0 the after. Like
Forest were
that's
fantastic going forward at times. Really, really impressive.
they were.
Do you
They
feel
were.
that? I think we says that it was a massive game for them because, of course, 5-0 would have been hurting them, and it could have been one of those ones where their season unravelled due to it. But they showed a lot of character and resilience. They fight back against that, and I think it was, as going forward, it was definitely as good as I've seen them all season. They looked like they could score at will. I know we've said Brighton were pretty poor at times, but I think Gibbs White just seems to be getting better and better, and there's going to be a lot of clubs looking at him. I think Forest are going to have to get in the Champions League to keep him.
Yeah.
Wood's obviously in a bit of a purple patch, and it'll be interesting to see if he can continue that next season. But he's obviously older, so there probably won't be as many teams looking at him. But in particular, the likes of Gibbs White, Delanga, Hudson-Odoi, Morello, Milenkovic, I think even Anderson's been excellent for them. Yates has done well at times. They've probably got Nuno's got a tune out of them and working to assist them, and like Wolves. But obviously, Wolves were never in this position. They were always the team that were. I think they got them in the Europa League one time, and they got the I think an FA Cup semi-final under Nuno. But like this is some achievement at the moment, and like Chelsea we'll come on to speak about Chelsea, but they're scraping through games. So I mean, it's not beyond the realms here. The Forest could finish in the top four if they stay semi-consistent. They could be there.
And it's looking more and more likely that it's going to be top 5 as well. So even if they finish 5th, they could be getting into the Champions League. I just think I love it. Like it was like Fulham last season. Like I love things like this. Obviously, if it's at the expense of your team, you're not going to be happy. But
do you think now if they finish 6th in the top 5, get in, they'll be absolutely gutted from the position they're in now?
I would say so, because I think they'll finish the job and get in. I don't know what you think, but I think they will, because we'll speak about the other teams poor fighting for about Newcastle and Chelsea, and they're not really consistent. I know Newcastle went on that winning run there, but they've lost 2 of their last 3, isn't it?
Last 2 at home as well.
Last 2 at home. So, but I think if Forest, because they have the firepower, so and let's be honest, their defense isn't the worst either. Morello and Milenkovic are 2 brick walls. So if they can keep, obviously they're not going to win 7-0 every, but if they keep, as you say, keep consistent and try and pick up results here and there, there's no reason why they can't be in the Champions League. But it'll be interesting to see then if they do get in the Champions League, would Nuno be named manager of the year then, because that's some achievement too.
Yeah, well, that's it. Let's look at Man United, because I mean, we both kind of fancied United just to script this because of Palace being so poor away from home.
Well, it's funny because they haven't. I was looking at that then. They haven't lost in their last 8 away games.
Yeah, but they haven't. They've only won 1 game away from home. I think Palace, or sorry, 2. They beat Brighton and they beat Ipswich. So they're not a prolific away team. I just thought after Brighton went there, and I know Brighton have been poor, but Brighton are a good footballing team. Bournemouth are a good footballing team. They lost to Newcastle there. Forest have beaten them there recently as well. I just thought that this might be the one that they need to get over the line. A team with maybe less attacking quality.
Southampton should have beat them too.
Well, Southampton should have beat them, but I mean, it just seemed again struggled in the shots on target. 1 shot on target, I think they had again, and just can't seem to really create chances. And from what I hear, Palace were worthy winners, and I think their XG was over 3 goals, so they should have scored more. And look, I didn't see this game because Spurs was playing at the same time, but United fans have said they're going backwards, despite some of these good results that Amram's had and against bigger teams where they've been able to sit back defensively and counter-attack. I mean, a bit of luck at Fulham. It was a poor game, but a deflected goal won it for them. But at home, again, it's another 0. It's another 0. They failed to score. I think it's 2 shots on target in the last 2 games. 1 was a penalty that they scored. I mean, this is desperate numbers, and I mean, it's hard to see how they can change it. And I mean, I think Amram was sending the message out to the board that when he started with Mane as a false 9, I need a striker tomorrow on deadline day. And they haven't done that, and we'll speak about the transfer window later on. But Paul Merson says he needs to be very, very careful because he can't just keep losing at home. And teams can go through spells where they batter teams at home and for 3 or 4, and they just won't go into the net. But it's the other way around. Teams are battering United at Old Trafford, and United are getting exactly what they deserve.
I think we spoke about they're more suited than an away team at the minute, which is bad. I don't have it on the top of my head, but have they lost 7 games now at home this season? it's around
I think
that
you're
number
right. I
anyway.
think it's correct. I think they've lost 7 games and 11 and all together in the league. I think possibly.
Because Liverpool beat them, Brighton beat them, Newcastle beat them, Spurs beat
Bournemouth,
them.
Spurs beat them.
So they've had a few beatings, but I don't think you can blame Amram too much because it's not his. None of these players are going to be in 2-3
No,
years
well,
time.
I said before, I do like Amram. I think he's going to be a top manager. But how long can this
I think.
keep going? I mean, can they keep affording
Yeah,
to lose at home? And I mean,
I know. I know what you mean.
we know the squad that they have now to finish the season.
Yeah,
I mean, where's the goals going to come from? I mean, when they beat Fulham, we had deflected defenders shot. Didn't really create much else in the game. Played well against Liverpool, but again, that was a game where it suited them. If you look at the Old Trafford performance, the Man City game, I mean, it was a penalty, and I mean, Man City fell. I mean, it was a boring game, but City were in an hour day would have held out for a 1-0 win.
yeah.
Arsenal away in the cup, 10 men backs against the wall. I mean, they've definitely got more resilience in MOA games. He never used to fancy United when they went away from home. They under Ten Hag, they were
No.
soft touch. He's definitely got some more resilience in there, and I do think the players are playing for him. But there's just such a lack of quality going forward, and the system's obviously not helping certain players. But I mean, that was a big call to start with Menu as a false 9, and it really backfired.
Yeah, especially because obviously I didn't watch the Europa League games, but I heard that he played really well as a number 10 against. I know it's a poor opposition in Stade Bucharest, but he mainly doesn't have the physicality for a false 9. It's sort of the same.
Carragher pointed out when he says that comment that this is the worst Man United team ever, of how the players will be feeling in the dressing room. How do you think Haaland and Xerxes feel now that Amrams basically says, well, I'm going to have a go with Manu because I don't really think you two are at it. And then I think maybe he was hoping to get Tell, and for whatever reason Tell didn't happen. He goes to Spurs, and we'll speak about that later on. But I mean, it doesn't look good.
No, and it's not. And you see the comments he made about Rashford too, about him saying he'd rather put the goalkeeping coach on the bench. So he has a sharp character. Like, he will say things if he believes it. But for them two players, we've seen as well, he took was it the Spurs game? He took Xerxes off the League Cup one. No.
Xerxes.
Game did he take?
No, yeah, he didn't play the L. He was on the bench.
It was Newcastle, mind. He subbed Xerxes off. So he obviously doesn't fancy him, and he doesn't fancy Haaland, but it's not going to help their confidence. And it's obviously they both know now that the manager really doesn't believe in them if he's playing probably a defensive midfielder or attacking midfielder at false 9. So
we're also here as well one that the PSR situation is not great. So again, they really need to be selling players in the summer. They bring ones on. They might have some sort of money they bring, but I mean, you would look at that United team and think Amram wants maybe 6, 7, 8 players. I don't think that's all going to be possible next summer, and they don't really have anything of value to sell. And anyone that, I mean, not when they sell Fernandes, he's been one of the best players since Amram come on.
Garnacho probably is their best bet.
But I mean, what's he going to go for? I mean, he's not near the first team now. Rashford, they're relying on him picking up and then selling him on. Martinez has now done his ACL. I mean, that's the second one. That's not good. I mean, he might not come back from that.
And as well, if they don't get any Europe next season, if they don't win the Europa League or win the FA Cup, I think that's going to be bad for them as well. So I think this new ownership group isn't getting many fans. I've seen a lot of United fans saying it's just Glazers 2.0 because apparently the Glazers are still running a lot of the footballing operations.
Yeah. Owen, let's talk about the other game at 2:00 on Sunday. Not many people give Spurs a prayer going to Brentford. Me and you sort of thought that it could be a tight draw. And to be honest, it was actually a tight game. We says we didn't fancy loads of goals in this game just because of the way Brentford play. And I thought Spurs would be a little bit more cautious, and they definitely were. The fullbacks weren't flying forward as much. Well, or that's to do with Ange maybe reserving them and saying, look, we need to change. Or maybe it's just saying save energy and let's sit in for a game because we've obviously got big games coming this week, and he hasn't really got the players to rotate. So I wouldn't be totally convinced. I'm thinking Ange is changing. I think it's maybe saving legs more than anything. But Carragher says before the game, Spurs is going to get battered here, and they're going to concede at least 3. Obviously, he has a big mistake. You just never know in football. And were you surprised at how Spurs were able to cope with Brentford at times? I mean, all of them maybe 1 or 2 moments. Kinski made saves. wasn't like Brentford had a lot of crosses, but not they have not creating any real clear cut chances, and Spurs seemed to deal with them quite well. A lot of long throws, a lot of crosses, and Spurs grew in confidence. Really,
I think you're saying a lot of crosses. Was it like 30 crosses in the first half or something?
30 crosses.
I seen that.
I did feel at times, oh my god, long throw. But as the game was going on, you could see Brentford running out of ideas because it was just long ball into the box, long corners, throw-ins. More of a hut and hope on there than actually picking anyone out. And like sometimes, one might bounce free, but they were playing against percentages. Whereas I felt when Spurs was going forward in the break, they looked like, they missed a few chances. They go 2-0 up in the second half before they scored. I always felt that Spurs looked the more likely to score.
It wasn't a great, like, it's not going to be one where you sit back and
you wouldn't be rewatching it.
No, it was a game of just two average teams, and Spurs came out the better, but Spurs definitely had the better chances. And as you say, Brentford were just sort of crossing it and hoping something would bounce for them. But I think Sarr took his finish very well. Like it was
good finish, good goal.
He put it under the keeper, and obviously now we'll speak about it. But you have a new striker coming in, a new centre half, and you need a centre half because apparently Van de Ven's.
And we discussed after the Everton game that maybe the players weren't. Maybe they've had enough. Maybe they've just lost all that belief that they can win again on their Ange. What do you think's changed in the last couple of weeks? Because against Leicester too, they just looked like they couldn't believe they could win. I mean, I know it's Europa League, but do you think maybe the youngsters coming on the other night scoring a few goals? Because it definitely looked like a more resilient Spurs team on Sunday. Maybe that was the lift that they needed. They not kick on and change their season around, but when you think back to the Everton game of how brittle and how soft they looked, I mean, it looked like a lot more steel, a lot more resilience, and they really dug on at times when they having to defend them crosses. And there was that sort of determination of we're going to win this game today. So I mean, what do you think's changed that sort of feeling?
It's a hard one to put your finger on, but maybe Ange has tweaked his system a slight bit, and they're more comfortable. It's hard to say because they always say ones breed confidence too, no matter how you get them. And yes,
they've actually won 3 of their last 4 now in all competitions. Of course, Leicester they lost, but they beat Hoffenheim, they beat Elfsborg, and they beat Brentford.
Well, they're going to lose on Thursday, so that's going to come crashing down. But no, like as you say, the old saying goes: if you beat any team, like it's going to bring confidence. You believe you can beat anyone. And it goes the other way when you're losing games. You don't want to play games because you just think, oh, this is going to be an hour loss. So maybe the ones have helped. And as you say, maybe the youngsters coming on the all night to sort of give them the kick that they needed as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Monday Night Football, Owen. Chelsea beat Man City or West Ham last night. I watched this game as well. West Ham got in front and Chelsea turned it around in the second half. First goal was quite controversial. But I think all in all, Chelsea probably deserved it based on the chances. But West Ham had a big chance at the end, actually, to get a draw. But I definitely think West Ham have improved under Potter, definitely. But Chelsea found a way, even if there was a bit of luck involved with 2 goals, because even the second one was a massive deflection too. So Chelsea found a way to win. But Chelsea definitely not looking as impressive as they were before Christmas.
No, I just don't think he knows what his best 11 is. And even yesterday, for a team that has spent over $1 billion, their overall squad on the bench and stuff doesn't look great.
The defense and the goalkeepers, mid-table standard.
The two goalkeepers that they have are shocking. Their centre halves, I like Colwell, but he has a few moments like Bowen. That finish when Bowen was unbelievable last night. That was a great finish because he had a lot of work.
Game back, it was not his first game back from injury as well.
Yeah. He broke his foot, didn't he? I think it was. Although if I was,
I still think Chelsea relies so much on Palmer too.
Yeah, if I was married to Danny Dyer, I would want to break my foot. Don't tell me, Mrs. I said that one. But no. No, I was sitting there to watch this part back. But no, again, it wasn't a great game either, was it? It wasn't wasn't a great advocate for Monday Night Football, and I would say Chelsea just about deserved it. And their first goal was, for me, I don't know what you think, but I I was thinking that should have been ruled out, but I don't know what you think.
See these ones that we've seen. I think we've seen one again with the Forest game on Saturday as well. See when the VAR check is on for 3 or 4 minutes, I just start losing interest.
You just want
I just think if you have to look at that long, just stick with the on-field decision. I really do.
And to be fair, I think in the last few weeks we haven't really had any controversies with VAR that I can think of, apart from in terms of goals. I know there's been like red card ones where
I think there was an issue. The next game we'll speak about actually, because we're happy with their goal being disallowed, but
I didn't see it.
Again, I think it's just a 50-50.
I didn't see this in live play, but I've seen it back and I'm going, just as you say, it can go either way. One day it goes for you, and if anyone's due a bit of luck with VAR, I think it is Wolves, to be fair. So I'll allow them this one.
Big weekend for teams down there. I mean, Everton won, and then Wolves won, and Everton won at 3 o'clock, and then Wolves won at 5:30. So I mean, Spurs went into that game under a lot of pressure on Sunday, because I was looking. I think we kicked off in 16th, and we weren't far off 17th. And we had a bit of a gap to 18th, but for all those teams they won, that's a real body blow. And we'll speak about Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester in a moment, but they've kind of been cut adrift. Them 3 now at the bottom. Wolves aren't out of the woods yet, but another Wolves one would nearly condemn them 3. I think that would be nearly enough.
I think year on year it's getting harder for the promoted teams to stay up. We've seen it last year. Luton put up a good fight until like Christmas, and then it's sort of faltered. Ipswich have probably been the best of the 3 promoted teams, but they just don't have the overall quality. So a big one for Wolves. Now I will say I predicted Wolves to go down at the start of the season. Now they're not completely out of the woods yet, but I think they'll stay up.
I think you're probably right, but they're the best of the worst. Wolves. That's probably why they're staying up.
Yeah, and I think Cunha signing a new deal as well will give them a boost.
I think if it wasn't for Cunha, they'd be down there with them other ones.
And for Villa, we'll go to Villa. Like, it's just one of them games. They always seem to tire after Champions League games, don't they? But they've had
that's a big issue for them. I think they're already playing catch up for the top 4/5. I just think when the Champions League comes back, they're going to really struggle, because they're going to have hard games when it comes to the last 16, or maybe if they get to the quarterfinal.
I do like the Rashford signing. I think that's a good move for him and Villa. So I think he'll give him a boost.
We'll speak about those deals very shortly. Owen, 2 defeats in the bounce for Newcastle to James's Park, and they actually led 1-0 in this game at half time. And Fulham turned it around in the second half, but like what they did to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, they were 1-0 down there and 1-2-1. A massive result for Fulham, because they would have been absolutely gutted with a United result the week before. And it's just classic Fulham. Fulham, when they aren't expected, they won. They're dangerous, and when they are expected, they won. They did not turn up, and definitely a decent team. Fulham. I know we says they can be quite profligate at times, but a big one. It's not easy to go to St James's Park. But from a Newcastle point of view, Owen, they lose 2 in a row now, going into an Arsenal game at home in the League Cup. Makes that game look obviously Newcastle will be still favourites, but going to Newcastle and winning has been proved over the last 2 weeks that teams can do it. And if we're honest, Arsenal are better than both Bournemouth and Fulham. So, I mean, there will be nerves around St James's Park now on Wednesday night.
Oh, there will be, but I think having the cushion of it going into it, knowing they're 2-0 up, and Arsenal have to score 3 without reply, because I think Newcastle will score tomorrow night. But no, like for weeks we were saying St James's Park is a fortress. It's a fortress, and they lost. Who was they lost? I know it was Fulham. Bournemouth. Bournemouth beat them 4-1. Was it?
Yeah.
4-1. So it'll be a tough pull to swallow for Eddie Howe, but. As for Fulham, like we seem to say it every other week. One week they'll beat a Chelsea or a Newcastle, and then whoever they're playing next in the league, they'll lose this. So it's one of them. They're not consistent enough for me to push for Europe or anything.
Newcastle put it all on for that League Cup.
I mean, it's similar situation for Spurs. Like they need Newcastle haven't won a trophy in 50 odd years, so they'll be looking as for it as a big chance as well.
Final two games, Owen. Everton put Leicester to the sword, 3-0 up at half time and scored right at the end to make it 4-0. Leicester defending was shocking at times. But you have to credit Everton, 3-1s in the bounce, and all of a sudden they're looking very, very comfortable. And I know Liverpool will still be favourites next week for that game, but it's an Everton team now coming on a bit of form. I think, it looks a much more tougher game now. They've somehow found a way to score goals, and Moyes has got the feel-good factor back there, and they'll be right up for that Liverpool game next week. So credit to Everton.
You have to credit them where credit's due. Like Moyes came on, and I know they lost their first game to Villa, but since then they've beat Brighton, they've beat Spurs and Leicester, as you say. I've seen the highlights of this game, and some of their defending was just schoolboy. But you say it's going to be a tougher game. I just think away to Everton any season, I hate it because it's never going to be one of these games where, especially Goodison, especially with it being the last Goodison derby, it's never going to be one of these games where Liverpool are going to dominant. So I think if we already won it, it's going to be like a 2-1, 1-0 job.
Yeah, and rumours Ruud van Nistelrooy not happy with the Leicester transfer business.
What do they expect? They're broke. They can't spend any money.
They've signed their own death warrant for me. I think even sacking Van Nistelrooy now is completely pointless because I think they're going down anyway. So, Owen, Southampton probably resigned to their fit, but always nice to get a win. And their first away one of the season, only their second altogether at Ipswich. And that's a body blow for Ipswich as well because like we said, if they can win this, they give themselves a bit of hope. But it probably means Ipswich are probably going to go as well. But Southampton will just be glad they stopped the rot.
Southampton have been gone since August.
They only need 3 more points now. They get above Derby's bad record, so they'll be hoping to get to at least 12 points.
That's basically their season, isn't it? Don't be as bad as Derby, but I think, as you say, for Ipswich, it's a body blow because yes, they've been hammered the last few weeks by Liverpool and Man City, but you would expect that. On their worst day, they should be beating teams like Ipswich. No disrespect.
You think I've switched around in a steam wee bit?
As I said, I says about a while ago, same as Luton. Luton give a good fight to a certain point, and they just ran out of steam. Now I do think Ipswich have a bit more quality than Luton, but I just think, as I said there, I think it's getting harder for the Championship teams to come up and compete.
Yeah. Owen, let's move on. It was transfer deadline day yesterday.
Just Monday for me,
and it's time to tell you something. Because Matthias Tell found his way to Spurs. I mean, we were told this deal was off. Tell had rejected a move to Spurs, and then he wanted to go to United. And then for whatever reason, Ange Postecoglou was very significant in making this move happen.
If he gets sacked, is he just going to be all right them away?
Well, I mean, I think that the point of sacking Ange is come and gone now. I think they would have done it before this semi-final.
What if he goes out of both cups?
Well, I mean, you could argue that Spurs are second favourites for both of those games. Anyway, Villa have better players than Spurs, and Liverpool have better players than Spurs. So, I mean, why should you be judged on those two games?
I do think these are favourites for the Europa League now because I just think United's squad is. I know yours isn't decimated, but and
that's what they can. That's what the club can maybe run as a story if they go out. They both this week as well. Our season's not over yet. We've still got the Europa League in March.
Yeah,
a handy draw in that takes you into April to the quarterfinals, and all of a sudden, then sure your season's only got 6 weeks to run. So I think they're just going to try and get to the end of the season with Ange. Hope the form turns around. Obviously, hope they win a trophy. And then maybe evaluate in the summer where he is the right man moving forward, or do they go and get someone else? Because we're on the February now. I think they would have sacked him by now.
Yeah. Do you think he'll be here come the summer, regardless if he's won a trophy or not?
I think it depends how the next few months go. I mean, if they aren't going to sack him after going from what they've had 1-1 between beating Man City and beating Brentford.
Yep.
So I mean, they're not going to. I mean, I find it very unlikely Spurs go on a run like that again. I think they're bound to pick up more points now. I mean, it would be nearly be impossible. What did they pick up? Was it 5 points? 5 points out of 30. I mean, so I think they're unlikely they go on a run like that again. So I don't think it's going to be great, but I still think there'll be an improvement.
Would you sack off the league, like just play the kids in the league and focus on the cup?
Don't think we're there yet. But I think if we can get a few more ones, just to make sure there's no danger of being dragged on there, I think then if they come through Liverpool and they come through Villa, I mean, that would be some week to go Brentford, Liverpool and Villa. And I mean, all of a sudden then the season looks completely different. But I think we'd settle for, I mean, I think every Spurs fan would settle now for going through on Thursday, and if it meant going out on Sunday.
Well, I hope it's the other way about.
No one Spurs are probably will. But Matthias Tell ends up at Spurs loan on a loan with option to buy.
Because there wasn't an option to buy. There wasn't an option to buy to start with. Then there was. I was like, what's going on?
Well, it's hard to know who's got the better deal here, because I think when they come out, it's a lot of money to be coming into this youngster.
Yeah,
so I'm actually pretty happy that it's. I mean, I think on loan it's a free risk and there's an option to buy. I mean, the one thing that'll be disappointing. Well, it won't be disappointing, but it'll be disappointing looking back, as if he does set the world alight, and we haven't got him on a permanent.
Yeah.
But there's every chance it might not go well, and then we've got that option. We can just send him back. But I think, to be honest, Tell wants to go back to Bayern Munich, and I think that's why it's an option. I think he wants to go back there.
It's not an obligation. I seen Harry Kane come out today and said it was a good move for both. So
we'll see. I mean, have you know much about him, or?
No, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Bundesliga watcher. Like, I only watch the odd game a season, but he's very highly rated.
Are you surprised that Spurs have pulled it off over United and Arsenal?
Maybe over Arsenal, but because they really needed a striker, where Spurs don't necessarily really need one. But I think he wanted to go to United, but United wouldn't pay the loan fee or something. I think that's what the sticking point was.
Tell was pretty much transfer listed. Yes, of course, Bayern Munich wanted them. Well, they were prepared to take the money from him. They were happy, because I think it would have been a record sale. But Tell, I still think he wants a future at Bayern Munich.
At the start of January, it was he wants to stay at Bayern and fight for his place. Then it was he'll go out and loan. Then it was, they're going to sell him.
Yeah.
But will he have a future at Bayern Munich? Because I know Harry Kane's not getting any younger.
This boy's saying that the fans fell out with him. It's up to Tell now. He forces, if he wants to go back to Bayern Munich, he's going to have to show something in these next few months at Spurs. And let's look at Aston Villa. They loaned in 3 players: Rashford, Ascensio, and Disasi. I mean, 3 different positions. Rashford, he can play as a striker, but or out wide. Ascensio, an attacking midfielder, can play off the right, coming on the left, and Disasi, a centre half. All 3 players were out of favour, which I think is a bit of a concern. And I know Tell was out of favour, but he's a youngster. He's 19, and he is competing with Harry Kane. So you could argue Rashford really should be in the United team with what he's competing with. Asensio hasn't really worked for him at PSG, and he's got that bad injury. He's come back from that. And Disasi, Chelsea fans, says he's the worst centre half they've ever had. So I mean, what's your thoughts on these kids?
You nearly had him at Spurs.
Well, I mean, I actually seen Spurs fans celebrating that he wasn't coming, and look at our situation with centre halves. We're stuck completely.
He's got Danzo. I don't know much about him, but he was at Southampton years ago, if I'm right.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of Villa, I think the Rashford should have been out of United 2-3 years ago. I think that just ran course, and I think it's a good move for him. I think Villa are a team that suits him, because Villa play counter-attacking football. He likes to play on the break counter-attacking football. So if he can get his act together, because I know he's had a few disciplinary issues too. So if he can get his act together, then it'll be a good move for him. The other 2, Ascensio, I haven't really watched much of him, but I know he's been. I know he's been at Real Madrid, then he was at PSG, but again, he was a bit part player at Real Madrid most of the time, and same at PSG. So it'll be interesting if Villa can get the best of him. But his Spanish, so Emery will know him well, and we spoke about Disasi. I was going to say we spoke about Disasi, but I just think I don't know how he's a professional footballer.
Man City had the biggest move of the day in terms of money. They parted with £50 million for Nico Gonzalez from Porto. plays in centre defensive midfield position, so almost like a number 6, someone that can play in there now with Rodri. Well, this was to do with what happened at Arsenal. I'm not sure, but
No, they were
it was
tracked.
clear. It was clear they needed someone, and they've got him. I don't know much about him, but he's got to be an improvement on what they have.
Well, from what I read, I was no way you read articles on transfers just to get your knowledge of him. Apparently, Man City were tracking him from he was a young age, so I think this was a move that was always in the pipeline. But it's a big pressure on him because coming from the Portuguese league in that position, particularly coming into a struggling team, he's going to have big pressure on his shoulder. I don't know how old he is. He could be. I know he's in his 20s, but I don't know. This boy seems to know a lot about Bayern.
He must know a lot about Bayern Munich.
Must be a Bayern fan, but no, I don't know much about. I don't know much about him, to be honest. I don't know much about Nico Gonzalez, but as I say, it's big pressure for him coming into a struggling Man City team.
Man City parted with nearly 200 million in this window. I think Brighton were the next at 40 million, and then even further down, most teams were doing loans and whatever.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that City went big in January? You know, usually they're a summer team. I know they didn't spend much last summer. And from what we understand, despite these charges, Man City have been kind of making money in the last few windows, so they are pretty good. Recently, with the PSR rules, they were a club, similar to Brighton, who could spend a lot and not have to worry because they've been selling so much young academy talent. It's been 100% on the profit on the books. And they've also been basically bringing the likes of Haaland and selling Jesus for the same money and reinvesting. So they had plenty of powder. They go at and they really attacked the market. So, I mean, were you surprised that they went, we signed so many players in January?
No, because, well, I do think if they weren't in a situation that they're in, I don't think they would have signed in January, to be honest. I think if they had a fully fit squad from now to May, I think they'd be grand. But with the situation they run, they needed something because that was just, and they're not even great with the signings. I know Marmoush was good against Chelsea, but he didn't do anything particularly well. It was speedy against Arsenal, but he didn't really do nothing. What do you call the centre half they signed from Azerbaijan? he had a nightmare against Chelsea, so it's going to be a bedding period for them. And as I say, this boy here, Nico Gonzalez, he better be the Rodri 2.0, or they're going to really struggle.
Arsenal, Man United, the word from the club, I've seen some of the sources reporting it today, was that they are prepared to wait to the summer. They sign players. But I wonder, when we spoke about it earlier, if Rashford goes to Villa and lights it up, that's going to be a lot of question marks towards Amram and the club for letting him go, one, and for two, not replacing him. Anthony's also gone, so they've lost two players that have played in that attack. And I know Anthony hasn't contributed much, either has Rashford, but it's still two bodies they're down. They've obviously signed a left back to come in, which they needed.
But he's 18, so he's young too.
And of course, Arteta was banging the drum for a striker, and he hasn't got one. And with Jesus' injury, he's going to be out. Saka's out at least the international break. Havertz is the only striker, and if he gets injured, they're going to be really stuck. So time will tell if it's going to be a big mistake. But it definitely seemed like they both wanted Tell just as an option, but for whatever reason couldn't agree a deal with Bayern Munich. And Spurs were the benefiters, but I just look at both of those now, and they're quite short in that attacking area, and there's a lot of games coming up now with FA Cup and Europe starting back.
I think United are saying they want to go back in the summer for a striker, but if they're not in Europe and they don't have the money to spend, where's it going to come from? Because we spoke about it, like they're not. Rashford's only going to net them 35-40 million if he goes on a permanent, and Arsenal.
Somebody has to take on his wages. He's not big of a wage. United will likely have to pay him off.
Well, I think Villa have an option to buy, don't they?
Yeah, for about 40 million. But I mean, are they going to take on them wages? The extra, I think, from what I understand, Villa's paying about 250 grand of it, and United are paying the other 115.
That's mental wages for someone who hasn't kicked the ball for 2 months. And in terms of Arsenal, we all know they want. We all know who they want. They want Isaac. But whether they get hammered in Newcastle, because it will be a tough deal to do. Because there will be a lot of in the summer there'll be a lot more competition for strikers, because you could argue United will need a striker,
I
Arsenal
think
need a
you're right. I think the fact as well, it's not a World Cup or Euros year. I
yeah,
mean, this is going to be a big summer because next year you're going to have the World Cup,
yeah.
and it's a bit harder to get players. Next season you've got a chance to get them a full pre-season. I know the Club World Cup's happening, but there's only going to be so many teams on that.
By the
So
way,
I mean,
I don't understand. Why are Liverpool not on that?
I think it was when did they win the Champions League?
2019.
2019. I think it's the
Uh,
last. It's from Chelsea, 2021.
All right, fair enough.
Chelsea,
You
and
should know when.
you can only have two teams from a country. So Man City and Chelsea are the two most recent winners.
It's not even a real competition, really. It's just a money grab.
Well, we'll see how it goes in the summer, and then we'll see what the fuss is about.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, a lot of teams will need a striker. Like, Arsenal need a striker in the summer. United will need one. Chelsea will go in for one. Liverpool, I do think Liverpool will go for a striker. So there's going to be more competition in that area for definite.
Oh, and finally, you mentioned Liverpool. Obviously didn't do any business in January, but rumours today that very close to Salah and Van Dijk being done. Look, I would take a pinch of salt because we've heard this before, but it does at least mean there is positive news coming out that they feel that these are going to be done, and they're not as confident on Trent now as well, as was also the word. I think we spoke about the RA one. I think if they get 2 out of the 3 and signed up, they'll be happy enough.
Obviously it's devastating having a local lad leave for free, but if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. I don't want anyone at the club, regardless of their quality, if they don't want to, if their heart's not on it. So if we can get Van Dijk and Salah done, I'm happy enough with that, because Salah, as much as he's going to be 34 in June, 33. He looks after himself, and he's a specimen. Like, and he's the best player in the world at the minute. I don't care what anyone says. And Van Dijk, yes, he's not at his imperious best as he was 3, 4, 5 years ago, but he's still a top defender.
Yeah, Liverpool fans will be dying to get that news out. The reason I wouldn't say it's all fabricated, but I can't understand why they'd be sitting on this contract if it's signed. I mean, if there's too many sources around the club as well, people will say it.
Maybe they're waiting for the international break, so Liverpool fans aren't bored.
I don't know. It may be close now. Maybe it is close, and maybe we'll get some clarity very soon. I think it's in their best interest to announce this as soon as possible once they're done. So even if Trent isn't signed, you just have to go wait and get the R2 out. I don't think they can delay this the end of the season.
No. Like, I want to hear it now. In the next 4 or 5 weeks, I want to hear something.
Right, Owen. It's that time. We're going to start looking at the League Cup semi-finals before we go off here.
Yep.
Of course, Newcastle take on Arsenal tomorrow night at St James's Park, a 2-goal advantage. And on Thursday night, Liverpool are seeking to overturn a 1-goal lead that Spurs had at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Of course, it would be massive for Newcastle and Spurs to get to Wembley and have a chance of winning a trophy. Newcastle were there recently, 2 seasons ago, when they lost to Man United. Spurs haven't been in a cup final since 2021 when they lost to Man City. So just a few seasons ago now. But both these teams aren't prolific final. They haven't made lots and lots of finals. And I think the two of them would ideally want to play each other if they could. Yeah. So let's look at tomorrow night's game, Owen. Newcastle are in a very strong position, but like we says about the recent 2 home defeats, the teams that aren't as strong as Arsenal, and the fact that I think a lot of people expect them just to get this done. You don't have to win the game, but just get through on the night to the final. There is a lot of pressure on them, Owen, and I think sometimes when teams like this are in this position, it can be very uncharted territory. When Newcastle play Arsenal in a league game, people might fancy a draw or Newcastle have a chance, but they aren't seen as complete favourites, which they are because they're 2-0 up. Yeah. And Arsenal just have 5. Ton of confidence, and Newcastle have lost 2 in a row. I mean, this is not a done deal, is it?
No, like if we were saying this a month ago when the first leg happened, you would be saying it's done. But I think the key for this one is who gets the first goal. if Arsenal get it the 1-0, 2-1, then there'll be anxiety in the stadium. The fans will get nervous. But if Newcastle get the first goal, then they're as good as home and host. So, it's a tough it is a tough one. But I think we'll see Newcastle walking out in Wembley come the 16th of March.
Do you think Arsenal need to go on the front foot from the off? No, they can't
They
really
do.
let this game dwell and no at half time and think, well, happy days, we haven't conceded. Let's try
They
and get a
can't
couple now,
do
I think. I
they
mean,
can't do what they did
they
against.
have to go after Newcastle from the start.
Uh, I know Gary Neville. I don't really agree with most things he said, but he did say on Sunday that in the first half they were just passing sidewards and they were just passing like they weren't trying. There was a point in that game, I think it 1-0 or 1-1. I can't remember. Havertz was running it. Was it Akanji? And he just stopped. He didn't.
I
He
think
didn't
it was
take
one
him
nil
on. He didn't take him on. So they can't afford to do that this game because
It will be interesting to see what if Arsenal went 2-0 up, what they would do. Would they then sit back and say, well, let's try and just nick one at the end, or would they go on and try and beat them 3 or 4-0? It would be very interesting.
it's gonna be an interesting night. But do you want my actual scoreline prediction of the game?
We'll do them at the end. We'll do them at the end. Let's look
Well,
at Thursday night's game, Owen, because Liverpool take on Spurs. Of course, I will be in the away end for this game. Really looking forward to it. I haven't been in the away game for a couple of seasons now, and I've picked a really
is
good
this
one
your
to go
is
to.
this your is this your first time at Anfield, or have you been before?
I've been before,
Been before.
but
For
this is different. This is a massive game. This is a semi-final.
yeah.
Spurs are 1-0 up. I mean, Spurs would have, despite we saying it's going to be tough. I mean, if somebody had a system when the draw was done, you were going to Anfield with a 1-0 lead, you would have definitely took it. And of course, I was at the home game when they won 1-0, and on an hour night, it could have been 2-0, really, if that offside had went their way. But that would have given them a bit more hope. But, Liverpool could come out and really do a job on them. But, I mean, it'd be interesting because people always say to me the Anfield atmosphere is pretty special. Sometimes people say it's not so special, but I think for a cup semi-final, second leg, when they're 1-0 down, I think the atmosphere is going to be pretty intense on a Thursday night.
Maybe for like a 3 o'clock game at home it's not great, but see a night game at Anfield. Even when you're watching on the TV, you'll be there. You'll experience something like. But I think how I expected to go. I don't expect. We're talking about Arsenal sitting back. I don't even think Spurs will sit back because I don't think they can afford it because Liverpool will score tomorrow or Thursday night. I'm convinced of that. We'll score and Spurs will score as well. So it's just how it plans out with these two teams. It's not going to be a 0-0.
I think Spurs could really do be scoring first. If they got themselves into a 2-0 lead, at least they have a bit of a cushion.
Yeah, I think if Liverpool score first, we'll hit you for 2 or 3. I think if
Liverpool,
we get that first.
I mean, a lot of people still see Liverpool as favourites, despite them being 1-0 down from kickoff.
Yep.
Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you agree with that statement that Liverpool are still fancied?
Because of Spurs' injuries, 2 because we're at home, and 3 because Spurs don't normally do well in Anfield.
How big of a body blow would it be for Liverpool not to beat this Spurs side over 2 games with the injuries they have? I mean, how do you think, how damaging could you think that? I mean, if Spurs went to Anfield and say won again, say that they ran out 1-0 winners or 2-1 winners, and they lose twice to that Spurs team over 2 games with the amount of injuries they have, do you think that could be damaging, or do you think they would just brush it off?
No, I don't think it'll derail our season. Like if we lose, obviously I want it. I know you say, oh, it's a League Cup, but
because when the draw was made, you could not envisage Liverpool not being in the final with injuries to Spurs, and they've actually got more since.
Van de Ven's out again, isn't he?
I mean, they've actually I know they've brought on a couple there, but I mean, you're basically throwing them on the deep end, really. I mean, Danzo's probably going to have to play, and Tell
he'll be on the bench.
Might play as well, but I mean, they basically only had a one training session, and they're going here. So I mean, they've lost Dragiston. Van de Ven was supposed to be back, and he's not going to be back. And they've lost Madison since. I mean, they're in a real mess in terms of the players they can put out, and you're going to have to probably play either Gray and Danzo or Gray and Davis at the back. I mean, if Liverpool weren't putting away Spurs, you'd be wondering, you'd be scratching your head, wouldn't you? Because I mean, everybody's been getting Spurs.
It's a strange one, but anything can happen in a cup competition. Strange things have happened, but I'm still going unconfident, and I'm still expecting us to be in Wembley.
Final question on before we get on to the predictions.
Yep.
I mean, how big would it be for Ange if it was to come through Anfield, get Spurs onto the final? I mean, do you think that changes the whole perception around them? You know, around the team, around the club, that they've come through Man City in the cup, they've come through United in the cup with injuries, and they've come through Liverpool over 2 games with even more injuries. I mean, would people then start to believe that maybe this could be the year for Spurs to end that drought?
Well, they'll not have a better chance. Like it's a 50-50 game in that final. If Newcastle get through, if Arsenal get through, you would put them as not overwhelming favourites, but depending on Spurs'
I tell you what, if Arsenal turned it around and Spurs played Arsenal in the final, I mean, they have to beat City, United, Arsenal, or Liverpool over 2 games, and then have to beat Arsenal. I mean, that is as wretched as a run as you can get. I mean, honestly, if that worked out that way, that we come through Liverpool, played Arsenal in the final, the first ever North London derby domestic, and won it, it would nearly feel like winning the Champions League because of the opposition.
Yeah, and the funny thing
I can't remember a lot. I can't remember. Like, it played every team basically, bar Chelsea. They are big clubs.
I know there was a year. Was there a year we played? Was it Chelsea, Arsenal? I can't remember. I know it was the FA Cup. I think that year we played. The year we won, we played City.
You kind of expect they maybe meet 2 semis and final. Yeah. But I mean, from the 4th round through, they play all them big hitters. Yeah. I mean, incredible.
And the funny thing is, you should have got put out by commentary.
I know.
That's the mad thing. But it'll definitely relieve the pressure on him if he gets through this. If he gets through to the final, for definite.
Right. On prediction time, Newcastle Arsenal. What's the score going to be on the night?
1-1.
So that's Newcastle 3-1 in aggregate.
Yeah.
The beauty of it is for us is we know who we're going to be playing before kickoff on Friday night, Thursday night. So I always like that when you know you're going to play. I mean, if it's Arsenal,
do you think if it is Arsenal, Spurs will be more up for it?
Well, they shouldn't be. There's no reason not to be up for it. But I think, if you're neutral and Arsenal won tomorrow night, you really want it to be at the North London derby final, like the first ever North London derby cup final in the history of football. Unless you're a Liverpool fan, I think everyone else would be hoping that.
Well, if you do
a bank holiday weekend, the day before St. Patrick's Day, I mean, that just would be something special.
If you do get through, I'll want you to win it, because I can't. Arsenal, no.
But like you, I'm going to go I'm going to go for Newcastle 1, Arsenal 1. I think it'll be that type of game. So Newcastle will go through. Owen, Liverpool Spurs score on the night.
Oh, it could be anything. It could be 5-4. It could be. But I'm obviously.
I must just double check. Does this game go to extra time or straight to penalties? If it ends up Liverpool won't be able.
I think the semi-finals go to extra time. Don't quote me on that, but I think. I'm nearly sure the semis go to extra time.
Aye.
Extra time, aye.
It was changed for a couple of seasons, which just went straight to penalties, but now it's been changed back, so it would be an extra half an hour.
I don't know.
So that would be in Liverpool's favour, like you would think, with Spurs' injuries and the fact it's an Anfield as well. Definitely be in Spurs. So I think Spurs are probably going to have to win in 90 minutes or somehow hold out for penalties.
I'm going to go. I don't know. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. So I would make it. Tight.
See, I didn't give us a prayer in that fucking home leg. Did not give us a prayer. I thought we'd be well beat.
I don't think anyone would. Did.
I do think Liverpool are favourites. I really do.
You have to back your team, but in a semi-final.
No, but there is. I mean, I wouldn't be going to Anfield tomorrow or Thursday if I wasn't confident. Not confident, but believing we could do it. and they've got the ability on their day to do it. Like, but as we've seen in that first leg, Anfield's going to be different, of course. But the fact that we need a draw, they've went to Anfield with worse teams and draw. Well, not a worse defence, but definitely worse teams. I think Conte got a draw there a couple of times as well. So and Liverpool are going for league that year actually. So it'll be interesting. My head tells me the same scoreline as you. My heart tells me 1-1.
You have to go with your heart if your team might be doing the same.
No, I mean it would be massive. I mean, only thing that can maybe swing in our favour is maybe that Spurs may want this more than Liverpool, due to the fact that Liverpool have maybe a bigger fish to fry, as they say. Because it certainly felt in that home game. I know Anfield's going to be different, but Liverpool weren't that bored. Not that they weren't that bored, but they just didn't seem like themselves. So
because Salah was not his best, I think, that night.
We need Liverpool to have. I think Spurs to have any chance, they need Liverpool to have an off night, not be at their best, and be ruthless when the chances come. I think it'll be a great game. So let's just see, and I'm sure everyone will look forward to it on Thursday night.
What did you say? What's your prediction then?
I'm going to go 1-1. I'll go with the heart. I'll take that now. I think whoever wins this one. I mean, I think if it's Liverpool and Newcastle in the final, Liverpool will be heavy favourites. And I think if Spurs do get there and there's Newcastle like we think, I mean, they'll have no fear after coming through the three teams that we mentioned.
If it ends up being Liverpool Arsenal, that's a 50-50 game, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Well, it's been great having you on. We stayed on longer than we thought. This is an hour. We've done an hour in nearly 20 minutes. So we will be back on Friday to discuss all of the League Cup semi-final reaction. Who is going to be in the final? We'll also look forward to the FA Cup.
If Spurs won, I might have to go off the grid for a while.
Take off the grid. I actually think it would be an embarrassment if Liverpool didn't beat Spurs over 2 games with the squad they have.
No, it would.
Obviously, because you're doing so well, but I mean, it would just be unthinkable. They think that Spurs would have got through with all these injuries.
I just hope on Thursday we're at it from the first whistle, because if we're not, Spurs do have the quality on their day to punish teams.
I think we need to get that first goal. If we can get that first goal, I know 2-goal leads are fragile too, but they'll give them real confidence. They maybe have a bit more resilience about them. I know Liverpool can turn it on, but
see if it goes to penalties, I'll be watching it. I guess I'll be.
Jeez, I actually hope it's down the other end. I don't want to watch it going down the net, but I'm right behind the net. The Spurs will probably attack second half opposite the Kop. So I'll send a few pictures on, and I'll send a couple of videos on, so you can see. But we'll be back on Friday, looking back at, as you says, the reaction to these games, and looking ahead to the FA Cup 4th round, where the headline game is probably Aston Villa against Spurs. So no rest, wicket, respite for Spurs, and another tough draw.
Plymouth versus Liverpool. Oh, what a game!
I know. I mean, like, why can we not get draws like that? But Owen, it's been great. It's been great having you on. He's just saying, reckon 2-1 Newcastle and 3-2 Liverpool. Well, 3-2 Liverpool with extra time, wouldn't it?
No, I don't want that. That's too nervy.
But
I think
man, as always.
I do agree. Actually, if it does go to extra time, it would favour us because we have more options to bring on.
Yeah, definitely. Top man, as always. If you're new around here, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more content. And thanks to everyone for their comments. Thanks. There's been plenty of interaction there as well, and plenty watching. So we'll be back on Friday. Looking forward to the League Cup semi-final Thursday night. Come on, you Spurs. We'll see you very soon.